Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. So I've been absent for a few days, just things to do, life's got in the way. But we're gonna make some more videos now, so I will make it up to everyone. I have noticed like a few people have watched my videos, so thanks. It's a bit of a miserable day today weather-wise, as you can probably maybe hear with the rain battering down my car. So yeah, we're just gonna sit in the car today and I've got this thing that I saw yesterday that I feel like talking about, just like a random topic. And it's basically like, I don't know if I would call it like a conspiracy theory, but it's one of those like weird little theories. Now, I've got a bit of a guilty pleasure for these kind of like weird internet theories that people come up with. And also like some conspiracy theories, like I don't like conspiracy theories that are, actually serious stuff, like the anti-vax stuff and that. Like, I think that stuff can be quite dangerous, but silly conspiracy theories, like stuff that you can talk about and it doesn't really affect much. It's just like, a silly thing like UFOs or ghost stories or, whatever. Like, there's other stuff out there. But I think you probably get what I mean. So, this theory is, did the world end in 2012? So, it's by a guy called Nick Hinton, right? And I originally found this on Facebook, but there is actually a short article written about it, which I'll put a link to in the description so you can go and read it for yourself. But basically, this guy done a Twitter thread with all these different, like, bits and pieces of, evidence, I suppose you call it, if you actually believe in it. So, but basically he came up with this theory, like obviously like in 2012 there was the whole thing with like the Mayan calendar and stuff like that, and everybody was freaking out that the world was going to end in like December of 2012, but obviously that didn't happen because we're here. So, but basically I've got notes, which is what you do when you're, talking about a news story. This is 2020, so this is the stuff that people are talking about. It's not that we've got enough weirdness in the world. We need to discuss theories about whether the world actually ended in 2012. So basically, I'll try and go through the theory quite quickly and then give you my thoughts on it. So, he's theorised that the Higgs boson particle was found in 2012. So that was found at the Large Hadron Collider, the big particle accelerator in Switzerland. And so Stephen Hawking predicted that the Higgs boson could basically cause the universe to like disappear, basically like fade out of existence, basically. So this guy's theory is basically that the Higgs boson destroyed our universe, but all of our consciousness was like shifted to a parallel universe, like another universe like right next to ours. And he thinks that we could be in a similar situation to the show A Good Place. The Good Place. Watch that show, it's actually a pretty good show. Like, I binge watched it in the space of a couple of weeks, like at the start of the year. It's like short 20-minute episodes. It's actually a really good show. So it'd be like an almost identical universe to like the one that got destroyed in 2012. He talks about the Mandela Effect. This is a popular thing in Reddit, I've noticed, but like this whole idea that like, there'll be little things that you remember, but then you go back and look at them and it's actually changed. But you remember it to be something else. Like, so, like different brand names is a particular thing that people bring up. So like Febreze, so some people apparently remember Febreze as having like two E's between R and Z, but it actually only has one E between R and Z. And then Skechers, some people apparently remember that to have a T, so it would be like SKETCH, but the actual name is, it removes the T, so it's just SKEC. And then there's a couple other examples here. But basically you get the idea, so it's like minor changes that you wouldn't quite notice, like if you didn't pay a lot of attention to it. So apparently some people remember the Statue of Liberty to be on Ellis Island when it's actually on Liberty Island. And there's also historical paintings apparently that he put an example of in the Twitter thread that he made. And it's basically like there's this painting of Liberty Island being missing from paintings depicting the Statue of Liberty on Ellis Island. And apparently there's also like weird stuff with Google Maps where, like, if you get photos of the street view in Google Maps on Liberty Island, there's certain angles where the statue's gone. So apparently some people remember climbing the torch of the Statue of Liberty, but that's been closed to the public since World War One because there was actually a terrorist attack by the Germans just before World War One in America. I mean, that's a pretty interesting fact itself, like the idea that, you know, something like that happened. But apparently it's been closed ever since, so you've not been able to go up to the torch and visit it. And then there's photos on the internet, like, from the torch of the Statue of Liberty, but it's all like weird profiles with like weird profile photos, and he's like theorising like maybe these people are like time travellers or something like that. And then he starts talking about like there's theories about how we're actually living in a simulation, and that it's a bit like Russian stacking dolls, you know, like you get the small doll that fits in the bigger doll and then the bigger doll, and the whole idea is that we could be living in simulations within simulations. And there's stuff to do with Terence McKenna as well, and then he goes on to talk about stuff to do with like the Montauk project, which is something that the US Air Force done apparently to do with like, you know, testing theories about time travel and stuff like that. So, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because the US military's done a lot of like weird experiments to do with everything basically. So what are my thoughts on this theory? I mean, it's interesting, it's a fun theory, but nah. So, like, the whole thing with the Mandela Effect, like, the Mandela Effect is actually something that particularly annoys me because it's like, you know, Occam's razor, right? Like, what's more likely, right? You know, the idea that you've been, you know, your consciousness is shifted to another universe, or, you know, is it maybe just something that you just didn't pay as much attention to, and it just happens to be slightly different to what you thought it would have been? Like the brand name thing, like, you know, I mean, human memory is like fallible in that, so like I don't see why, you know, you would come up with such a complicated theory to explain like, you know, a wee like simple thing. The actual like stuff to do with the paintings and stuff like that, I'll be honest, I've not looked at that as much, but even when I saw like the painting, like the one he talks about where it looks as if like Liberty Island isn't there, like I get the feeling with that painting that the way they've painted it, it's actually like at a certain angle, so like I can see how maybe Liberty Island is behind Ellis Island in the painting, but like Ellis Island's basically just blocking the view of the separate islands, so it almost looks like the one island. I think that's a possibility because, like, if you're looking at them from the shore, I can imagine there'll be like a certain angle from the shore in like mainland Manhattan where, like, that would make sense. Because I've actually been to New York, and you know I did get on the boat, you know, on the ferry from Manhattan to Liberty Island, and then walked around Liberty Island, and then got back in the boat, and then went from Liberty Island to Ellis Island. So it definitely exists. So I can't say anything about the whole torch thing because we didn't actually, like, we chose to, like, not actually go up the statue because apparently it's a total nightmare because you've got a tiny spiral staircase and apparently it's not really worth it anyway. And then the other things, I mean, that's mostly like theory. I think it's quite interesting to, like, I genuinely do think it's quite interesting to think about these things, but it's one of those things. It's like, it's almost, it can almost only be like a fun thing to think about because, like, unless you're somebody that is really interested in physics and has become a physicist, and how are you going to study this stuff? Like, but I thought it was quite an interesting thing, and it does baffle me a little bit. Like, do we really need something like this in 2020? Like, do we really need people thinking about this stuff in 2020? Like, is the world not, like, weird enough just now? But I think that was actually part of his point, is talking about how, like, it seems like the world's getting weirder and weirder, and he was talking about how things seem to be getting more chaotic every day, and I suppose with that he's talking about maybe stuff like Donald Trump or Brexit or whatever. But I mean, the world's always been crazy. Like, you go back to, like, the Cold War. Like, obviously, like, I didn't exist back in that day, but I'm pretty sure the people living through that probably also thought the world was absolutely crazy. And then you go back to World War Two, and like, if you're living in Britain, the Germans are bombing, and if you're living in Germany, the British and the Americans are bombing, and it must have been crazy, right? So I think that's actually more of, like, an internet thing than anything else, because the world's always been crazy. Like, there's always been weird, crazy stuff that's happened in it. It's just that with the internet being widespread now, like, it's just, yeah, the information's much more widespread, so you get to know about a lot more of the weird things that go on. So I think I like the theory. It's a fun theory, right? I read through it yesterday, and I spent a good half an hour thinking about it, and but yeah, it's a nice theory, but nah, it's just I mean, as you can probably guess, like, by my attitude to this thing, like, I don't, it's interesting, but nah, I don't buy it. But again, look, I don't think I can disprove it either, if you know what I mean. Just because it is, the world is weird, but yeah, I think it's interesting theory, fun theory, but I think that's pretty much all it is. So yeah, I thought I'd talk about something different to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, like it. If you hated the video, then dislike it. I don't know if my subscribe button's working, so if you could just give that a wee hit for me, that'd be great. So if you want to do that, if you think you would like the content in this channel, then please subscribe. And that's all. So bye, folks.